And that trip, in some very important ways, is the reason that I'm standing here today. Really, one of the first steps. Fields of the Wood memorializes the place where, on June 13th, 1903, the one true Church of God was restored to the earth after an absence of 1,600 years. Early that morning, a self-taught former Quaker by the name of A.J. Tomlinson climbed alone to the top of one of the Blue Ridge Mountains, and he was determined to grab hold of God and not let go. A.J. Tomlinson was confused by the multiplicity of sects that were swarming all over the southern mountains in those days, and it really brought to a point of despair. He wanted to know, where was simplicity? Where was answers? Where was certitude? In short, he wanted to know, where was the church? The pillar and the bulwark of truth, as it says in 1 Timothy 3:15. So he went to the top of the mountain, and there's a stone tablet on the spot now, and it says that right at this spot, A.J. Tomlinson prayed and prevailed. He came down from the mountain, came down the same way that Moses came down from Mount Sinai. He staggered back to the small congregation of Pentecostal mountaineers, of which he was the pastor. To them, he announced the revelation that he'd received on the mountaintop, to wit, quote, that this small group was in reality the Church of God of the Bible, for they had agreed together to accept the whole Bible rightly divided and to walk in all the light as it shined on their pathway. This was the event and the place where David's prophecy in Psalm 132 was fulfilled. I will not give sleep to mine eyes, nor slumber to mine eyelids, until I find out a place for the Lord, an habitation for the mighty God of Jacob. Lo, we heard of it at Ephrata, we found it, the church, in the fields of the wood. Psalm 132, verses 4 through 6. Now, my traveling companion and I were very fascinated by this, very interested, being scripturally oriented ourselves, and we started a little scavenger hunt. We climbed all over this mountain, all over the whole site, and it was just, they obliged us. It was absolutely peppered with biblical plaques and theological monuments, and we climbed over it all day long and trying to put together some sort of systematic theology for these people. We were a little puzzled. Were these friendly mountain folk that we saw running this place, were they really saying that they were the only true Christians on earth? Did they really believe that the Holy Spirit had totally withdrawn himself from humanity for 1,600 years? Well, it certainly seems so. In their literature, we found this quote: Fields of the Wood is not just a religious retreat or a tourist attraction. It marks and beautifies the very spot where the Church of God emerged from the deep blackness of the dark ages to become once more the great beacon of truth to a world still groping in spiritual darkness. The Church of God lay desolate and lost through the centuries. We found it again in the fields of the wood. And as a matter of fact, it's odd, but A.J. Tomlinson's story is very much like the story we hear from Joseph Smith. I don't know if you've noticed it, but Joseph Smith became disillusioned with all the denominations, went to the top of a hill and prayed, received the word from God that he shouldn't join any existing church, but should found a new one of his own, which would really be the true restoration of the old. So and so that great apostasy also, this idea of the deep blackness and the dark ages, really is a foundational tenet of both the Watchtower Society and Mormonism. So the more I heard about this great apostasy business, the less I liked it. Seventh-day Adventists teach a great apostasy like this. And it's led them to their notion that Sunday worship is the mark of the beast that's prophesied in the book of Revelation. And even so-called liberal Christianity has a version of it, where crafty politicians and conniving churchmen have sort of contrived together to supplant the original message, the simple gospel of Jesus, with this horrible monstrosity known as organized religion. Same idea, if you see. All of these various different movements had one vital dogma in common. That was that the original church, founded by Christ and the apostles, went bust. Okay. Now, thank God, of course, it's been restored by Joseph Smith or Charles Russell or Ellen G. White or A.J. Tomlinson. You fill in the blank. But basically, it's the same idea for all those different groups. Well, my reaction probably wouldn't have gone much beyond this simple emotion of dislike, or maybe a quick dismissal of these people and don't have to take them seriously, fringy or kooky or whatever. But then another disquieting thought came into my mind, and that was this: how different really is all this from my own picture of church history? Don't the Dark Ages figure pretty prominently in my own outlook? Don't I assign a similar importance to the Protestant Reformation, with Martin Luther standing in for A.J. Tomlinson? Don't I have, when it comes right down to it, a great apostasy theory of my own? Well, I have to say that this was a startling epiphany.